The main plan for this sprint was to work on the game loop itself. And at this point, I had considered that I had a rather large amount of backlog in terms of the various parts of the game that I thought I would have completed at this point, yet had not managed to do so. Namely, a camera material which I was going to put on the inside of the bridge so that you could see outward and into the rest of the level. I've had to cut, as well as the lockers, which were originally meant to be able to be hidden in, to add to the tension of the game. This, as well as the shadows that were meant to appear and then sort of slink out of view as a way to build up tension, have also had to be cut as part of the game and its development, just for sheer time constraints of the project. Thankfully, these are less high up on my Moscow list, and as much as I would have loved to include them, in order to focus on the game loop itself and, well, make sure that the game is finished in time, I've had to make the executive decision to cut them. But in terms of good work that has been completed this week, I have been working significantly on the game loop, as well as participating in a playtesting and feedback session in which I was able to get some very valuable feedback, stating that the game seemed to be a little bit directionless. Primarily, was one of the main points that I had, which was primarily due to the lack of tutorial anywhere in the level or at all in the game. I can remedy this quite easily. Up until this point, it's mainly just been me working on the project alone, and so obviously I know how the project works, and so it's a bit of an oversight not to include any kind of tutorialization. My next steps past this then is to include some form of main menu, which has a tutorial included, as I think it would take away from the actual game itself in having text boxes appear or whatever the case might be. I think it would detract from the main core part of the gameplay itself, so having a tutorial section in the main menu I think will solve my issue here. Other than the feedback, though, that I received, the main work that I was completing was on the game loop and the lockers, not lockers, the consoles that were about the entire ship. By this point, I'd completed about 75% of the different consoles of the various different things that are about on the ship, which was, I think, a good point to be at. Although I would have preferred to have finished them, but with the playtesting and feedback session, this wasn't quite possible. But the playtesting feedback was so invaluable that I'm happy to be a little bit behind on those consoles, as it's given me a new perspective on what I need to accomplish as part of the game.